comment on this, is what's been the result of it? Well, we know since we've embarked on this that we've seen an increase in standardized test scores. Can you attribute that solely to this effort? The answer to that, of course, is no. However, I think there's some misconception that because our test scores have continued to go up that we fixate on test scores. We don't fixate on test scores. And that was very evident in the Sun-Times article, and that reporter came for a whole day here and interviewed people and wondered why nobody reported that we fixate on test scores. What we fixate on are those developing documents that you see in front of you there that are challenging, that are up to date, and that are comprehensive. So that's been the recipe to our success. And I think that's an important point for the board and everyone else to be aware of. With that, any other questions? Okay, so what I'm requesting is in June that be part of a consent agenda. I don't know if you have any further discussion. Is that you saw from basically where each of these I hope it makes a lot more sense now what a 3 and a 2 and so on. That those documents there represent each of the disciplines. Oh, and I should also point out we don't operate with hard copies. This is all on what's called SharePoint. It's particular software where teachers can go on and they can make modifications, but it keeps a historical trend of everything that's been done, who did it, and so all that's a very good process. And actually, the only hard copies that are up to date in the whole district are there. So that's a good thing because we're not spending a lot on paper and binders and that kind of thing that just get obsolete because we're continually revising all of it.
All of these take us above and beyond state standards.
Oh yeah, but I mean, really, I don't want to sound arrogant about this, but I mean, that's a real low bar for us with the state standards. But we do, I mean, you can see if they realign with standards, but when we say standards, that's also national standards that exist for math and reading and so on.
So I'm sorry, Mark, you're going to ask the board to do what
now? Formally approve all of the curriculum, these documents. Okay. All right, so that's the end, and I want to, again, thank our presenters. They did an excellent job. I'm sorry.
Can I say something?
Oh, please.
To all of you that I've worked with, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to you when I left Curriculum Council, but I just wanted to thank you guys. I really enjoyed working with you. I learned so much from you guys, and I really appreciate your hard work and dedication doing this. It's not easy, it's a lot of work, and your passion. I've really learned a lot about our staff here, so thank you guys.
And since we already met all day today as Curriculum Council, and you probably had enough of meeting time, certainly you can stay for the rest of the meeting, but those Curriculum Council members who would choose to leave at this time are certainly welcome to do that.
Thank you very much.
Right. Next item is largely an informational item. It came up last meeting when we talked about the math adoption, is what kind of home access would exist for student textbooks, and I didn't have a definitive answer at the time. I do now. The Envision Math Series that we purchased is a web-based home access component. As part of the purchase, we get this for 6 years, can be renewed. It's very easy to use. I went on myself, even I can do it, and it's just very easy to do. Everyone gets a password, and you just click on the grade level in the chapter, and it's really easy. We also have, obviously each student has a textbook as well, and some students just prefer to bring their textbooks home. We already have this for 7th and 8th grade math online and hard copy, and some kids go online and some prefer to take it home. And then finally, we also each grade level have 4 CD-ROMs in the student textbook, and that's not a real popular option because if you have a computer that has internet access, you're better off going online than dealing with the CD, but that is available. So I think we're pretty covered with that. Any further questions?
Mark, I'm just wondering, how does the CD work? So is it something they take home and they would put their answers directly onto the CD, or do they download it onto their computer?
No, the CD is the textbook themselves. It's not they wouldn't enter.
Oh, they're not putting their answers on there, they're just, gotcha.
Anything else on this?
Okay, next item, strategic planning status report. I talk about a lot of work. I'm pleased to bring to the board the action plans from the communication team and from the curriculum council. If I could, Rick and Mark are members of the core team, and so I'm going to defer first to Rick to kind of give a. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we met, when was it, last week? How do we strike?
We did one.
Yeah, so, and it was the full core strategic planning team. So we had presentations from 2 action planning groups. There was a communications group and what was the second one? Curriculum group, right. And so, by and large, the recommendations of the action team were endorsed by the core team, and that's what you see tonight. There are some changes, so I'll kind of walk through what the changes were and my recollection of kind of what was behind them. So you all, I think, had a chance to look at what the various end result statements were for each of the action teams. In the end result statement in the communication area, we felt that it made sense to change the wording, quite frankly, from ensure that all community members are engaged in meaningful communication. We felt that was kind of an overly burdensome end result, but they can engage, right? I mean, so that at least we have the vehicle to engage in communication with the stakeholders and members of the community in a meaningful way. There was an end result statement, number 3, that the team did not endorse, did not accept, and that was around expanding the district's utilization of the automated outbound phone communication system. And the reason for that was not necessarily that the team felt that that was not something that we ultimately would end up doing, but that based on the earlier action item, to look at really what are the right ways for us to, the most effective ways for us to communicate with the members of the community, that it might or might not lead to an expansion of the phone system, that there might be other vehicles based on how people want to be communicated to that would say we might do more use of the automated phone system, or we might end up doing less. So that was the rationale behind that.
We're still going to keep it for emergency notification.
Yeah, it was basically that if you look at the second action step, right? It was to look at the first and second, or to basically look at what are the ways that the community wants to be communicated to, what are most effective, how do we make use of those, which might or might not lead us to say that the automated phone system is something we want to use more, or it might say keep using it the way we're using it, or it might say let's use it less, right? So without knowing the outcome of that analysis, it didn't make sense to us to say, well, I just automatically start using the automated phone system. And then the other change in the communication area was in the end result statement number 4, basically to use an integrated electronic information system for communication, as opposed to assuming that it's something new, right? We have electronic communication systems, so again, not presuming the outcome of what the action team's initial analysis was.
Well, before we go on,
yeah.
I'm going to jump in here.
All right.
Actually, subsequent conversations, what I'm proposing to the board is that everybody can take a look at end result statement number 3. We didn't want to get the communication team met for probably 8 different times, and that was as a group. And they also met on numerous occasions on their own, with tasks that were doled out to everyone. There was a group of 22, and so at the end of our time together, it was really determined because they did a lot of research. They looked at surveys from a couple of years ago, surveys from last year, and they even conducted